There it is. Now I finally have some freaking audio and visuals. This was a not an easy thing to do today. It's always a learning curve, you know? All right, here. All right, so welcome. Welcome to our little Sunday video, our live stream. Before we get really down into stuff and I go over the EV video or EV vehicles and whatnot, I want to talk about one thing, and that is the 520 Moto Alliance show that is going on next Sunday. If you're in Tucson, October 31st from 11 to about 3, 11 to 4, Bear Canyon Pizza. I put a link in the description. It is www.520motoalliance.org. We are a nonprofit, so when you enter a bike, the money that you put into that actually goes to the organization and helping people get the training and the gear that they need to, ride safely. So, 520motoalliance.org. Again, our show is October 31st, and love to have as many people come out and support and to really see the community. There's a ton of great vendors that are there. We have Yamaha Champ School. They're going to be putting on demos. They're also raffling off a one-day Champ School course. So that's pretty awesome. We have a bunch of really cool vendors for our sponsors, as far as like Onimoto, Iron Horse, Arizona Kawasaki KTM Triumph, and a whole slew of others. There's also another wonderful YouTuber that's going to be there. I'm going to keep that a secret unless he decides to pop on and say hi. But you know what? There is a lot going on that day, and I hope to see as many people out there as possible because it's all about the motorcycle community, and that's what 520 is all about. So, that little spiel over to all of you that are watching. Yeah, electric vehicles. Ironically enough, recently I did some research on, how some of this stuff is found. We'll get into that in a little bit. So we're moving that way. There's a lot of initiatives that these companies are doing where they want to be electric and zero emissions by like 2025 or 2035 or somewhere around those lines. And while that's interesting, there's a lot that really goes into being able to make it that way. If you think about it, the biggest thing is how long have we been making cars for? You look at it and go, the combustion engine has been around for a very long time. Cars, early 1900s, on to still being made, and you're going to try to start selling these electric vehicles, and yeah, they're going to be out, but people are still going to have these troves of gas vehicles, and it's not like they're going to quickly transition to electric because you have to buy a brand new vehicle. That isn't cheap, and people that run these, normal combustion engines are going to want to keep running something that is, very affordable. And obviously, with gas prices going crazy, you're going to want, oh, well, it's going to be cheaper to fill up with electric. No, like your initial investment's still a lot of money, and that's a big component that people need to think about when trying to transition between the two. But electric vehicles, they have a lot of criticisms, and rightly so. As far as range goes, that's honestly one of the biggest worries you have is being in the middle of nowhere and you have no power. Now what? It's not like you can push it to the nearest station because where's that even at? If you've ever driven in the U.S. from, what is it, Fort Worth, Texas to El Paso, tell me how many gas stations you pass in that section because you probably count them on one hand. And that's gas stations, let alone electric power. So you think about that and you're like, well, we really don't have the means at the moment to really support a huge influx of electric vehicles. Another thing you think about and along that lines is if there's not a lot of places to plug in, well, do you really have the infrastructure to support all of these stations that need to go up? And by that I mean we're not producing enough electricity to even support, say, if half of the population, at least here in the US, 150 million people end up getting electric cars, how are you going to support that? Let's see what Crow, Arizona. I'm going to pop thoughts here. Crow's putting some information out there. I agree. Forcing anyone to go, honestly, with anything, we can go over what the government does in forcing people to do things, and electric vehicles is one of those things. It's like, why push things down people's throats? Don't like it. I don't like things being forced on people. If you voluntarily do that, hey, by all means, that's what you do. But I agree with you, Crow. I don't like people telling me what I have to do when there's there's not enough out there to really make it a better option. Yeah, you know, back to this infrastructure stuff. You have to produce electricity. Well, how are we doing that? uh, hydro. Okay, cool. There's only a few places that have hydroelectric, and that's nice. Nuclear. Well, then you bring up the whole problem of what happens when they fail, or where do you dispose of all the nuclear waste that comes up? And not to mention they cost a ton of money to build and obviously make useful. That and people aren't too keen on having a nuclear power plant right down the street from them. So there's that aspect, and then well, you have another power plant. Well, how's that run? Gas. So you end up falling back into this trap of we still need fossil fuels in a huge way. Like even if we got electricity and a lot of electric cars, that is such a small like percentage of the world that is going to help a little bit. But how do you make the things that are electric cars, the batteries? When I was talking about my research, I had to look up. It's called deep sea mining and mining in the seabeds because these electric cars have batteries that are made obviously of. Hold on, I say obviously. I'm trying to look it up myself. I got notes. Let's see here. So they're made of stuff and things. Where the heck did it go? I had a whole thing set up for my research that I did. But the rare earth metals that need to be mined, there's some on land, and the problem with that is obviously displacing people, making a huge mess of it, using machinery to mine it, and the damage that it does to the environment, anyways, to just make a battery so that cars can run smoother. Oh, I got a problem. Apparently, I have an issue with my video. Is my video choppy there, Crow? I'm looking like I'm kind of going downhill here. YouTube is not receiving enough video smooth. As such, viewers are experiencing buffering. Crow, am I buffering? It looks like I'm buffering. You're not helping me. This is going downhill quick. Where was I at? Oh, the mining that happens. Son of a bitch. That's a very good point. There we go. All right. Yeah. Would I want to fly an electric plane? No. I don't think our technology is there yet. Flying, sure, but trusting wholly on electronics, and that's come from someone that worked on aircraft and knows what that's like to deal with. I don't trust it yet. We still have a long way to go, and it's kind of funny. The problem that we have is petroleum companies are huge. They're billions and billion-dollar industry. So why would they want to lose any of that revenue and help the battery side out and help with moving the science along with it? It's like they're fighting an uphill battle. So in a way, we're preventing the batteries and the electric generation really progressing far enough because of these major companies not wanting them to. It's a double-edged sword. It's like we want to get there, but we have a lot of things in place that prevent us to get there. So again, it's pushing these cars. We bring it back down from global scope down to just cars. There's just a lot that still needs to be figured out. And see, going back to the mining, nickel, cobalt, manganese. So in the deep sea research that I did, they're looking at these pockets that are thousands and thousands of feet deep, and the only way to get them is these really the mining companies that drill for oil and stuff like that. Well, the problem that they're trying to figure out is if you do any excavating down there, what does that do to the environment in a place that has never been disturbed? How will it recover? Will it recover quickly? Will it take forever? Or will you go down there and excavate and it'll never recover back? And then you worry about, well, if you do that down there, what else, what other chain reaction it gets caused? So while there's these nodules of just, I don't want to say limitless, but a ton of these rare earth metals that are needed for the lithium ion batteries, at what cost do they come? And obviously the companies are pushing to get these scientists, to get them out there, to get them to research and then go, oh, well, it's fine. Well, again, it's a long-term thing. What happens in 20 years after you've mined the seabed for so long and it just kills off every organism that's down there? It's a huge, huge thing that stems outside of just having a clean energy for a car. There's other research that needs to go into not just using batteries, hydroelectric stuff like do you want a hydrogen bomb in your car or not, stuff like that. Could you imagine driving around with a freaking hydrogen bomb strapped to you? That would be terrible. Let's see. It'd be nice to have electric vehicles for sure, not only because of the petroleum source, but because of the future magnetic studies that could come. I agree. There's a lot that comes out of innovation when we start to do things for one aspect and then it bleeds into other aspects of culture. And I'm definitely not against the science and the research that comes out of these electric vehicles. I'm an engineer. I love technology. I love finding new things. But like a lot of things recently, we're kind of pushing these ideals a little too fast before we truly understand them. Okay, that rant aside, what's exciting about electric vehicles? So I reviewed that Model 3 performance and I enjoyed it. I think Tesla's a cool company. The interior is okay, but the way that it drove, the push that it got off the line, the acceleration's absurd. And that's just the Model 3. Cars like the Rimac, they're 1,000 horsepower that are instantaneous torque. I can't imagine how nuts those are. And those types of cars, man, I freaking love. I want to see those progress. And then you have things like the EV Hummer. Let me see if I can pull that up over here. I'm going to try doing a screen to screen. It's a rare thing for me to try to do, but we'll figure it out. Let me see if I can do this. Come on. Come on. We can do it. We can do it. I know we can. Wait for it. Wait for it. Nope, wrong one. Okay. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Bear with me. Nope, that's not what I want to do. I swear I've done this at least one time. No? Okay. What are we doing? Ah, there we go. Okay. Now we just gotta switch it. Bring it back. Bam. Too far. Too far. Okay, so the EV Hummer, this thing, freaking cool. It can crab walk. It's got a ton of front end clearance because there's no motor up front. You don't need that overhang. So when it comes to rock crawling, you can actually do that. Raise and lower the suspension. It's got a ton of torque, ton of horsepower. I mean, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. That is ridiculous because this thing's probably, I think, 5,000 pounds. It's just nuts. But it's things like this vehicle. Let's see. We won't get into Ducati yet. We'll save that for later because I love Ducati. Let's see here. the Audi GT, Audi e-tron GT. That car, look at that thing. I was a huge fan of the Porsche Taycan, and I still am. I think between this and the Taycan, I think this is a better looking car. And you go to the Taycan, and that is, I think, the Porsche equivalent. Obviously, it's Porsche equivalent. It's Porsche. I think it's the German version. You know, well, they're both German. Anyways, I think it's a good looking car as well. It's kind of like a 918, but not quite as far as the front end goes. But I think the Audi is just a stunning looking car. Performance wise, yeah, it's fast. It's an electric car. It's got instant torque. So we'll get to the performance. 637 horsepower. That's nothing to scoff at. Three seconds to zero, or 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. That's pretty that's pretty impressive. It's numbers like that that are really interesting. But look at it. Everything's is luggage space. Like the hood is luggage space. The back is luggage space, and the battery is being down here. You know, the center of gravity is super low, so the handling is going to be great. I love it. What I don't like is the driving. And what I mean by that is like the AI driving. I don't like things driving for me. It's a cool feature. I showed it with the Tesla where it could like actually follow along a curvy road to a point. But I don't know, when I started driving, I enjoyed that experience of being one with the vehicle and kind of having that freedom. And I think once they start doing things for you, it now just becomes another thing. Like, okay, now we're just in a car and that's it. Like that passion gets lost. And I don't like that. The combustion engine makes you be part of it, you know, and I don't want to lose that. That is true, Crow. My smile is part of it. I love that stuff. Um, it's that future thinking. Like I like knowing what's coming next, and it's exciting. But it's still I need it to offer a similar experience, but in its own way. You know, I'm open to that idea. I don't, as much as I love a thumping V8 or that whine of a supercharger, the turbo blow off that makes you giggle like a little kid. I don't want those to go away either, and I love that. But I also want something that can, I don't want to say replace, but give me something new. Like now you can experience the road, the wind noise differently. You can experience, I don't know, if they can make the, I don't want to say engine whine, but the gear whine of the electric motors, if you can kind of make those a visceral experience too, maybe we'd be talking again. But just the absolute insanity that the electric motors and the tuning that you can do with these vehicles, I think that opens up a whole new world. Whereas before you could put a tune in, but then you're still limited to the internal components to the motor. While yes, the motors that drive the wheels are a limitation, they're not quite the same limitations as the combustion motor is. So I think tuners, once we really understand these vehicles, they're gonna have a field day with it. And if you can unlock them, my God, I think we can make some monsters out of some of these cars. Let's see here. Let's see your Audi. I talked about your, yeah. Like I said, the Rimacs are the highest end of just insanity for electric vehicles, and then you start stepping down. Audi is and Porsche are kind of that next tier, and then honestly, I think Teslas are, I don't say bottom tier, but they're lower unless you count like a Leaf or a Nissan. Well, I think that is a Leaf, a Nissan Leaf. Anyways, a little or Prius or something. Even though Priuses are hybrids and they're not full electric, but anyways, you get it. There's a hierarchy with them, and I think these German brands. I wonder if BMW is going to come out with a full electric. I don't remember if they do or not. Nothing compared to I think the GT, the e-tron GT or the Taycan yet. This right here, the Ducati Moto E bike is interesting. Um, if they can create something that looks like this, I'd be interested in absolutely testing it out because one, it's stunning. If it still handles like Ducati, where's the downside? Other than the people that are going to complain, well, it doesn't have the Ducati sound. Well, we went to V4s. People complained about that as well because it doesn't sound like the twin. So it doesn't matter as we shift and transition. People are going to complain one way or the other. Downside for me is no one's going to say that the engine's broken because of the clutch. You won't have a dry clutch unless you fit something magically on there to make a rattle or chatter like the dry clutch of a Ducati. Yeah, this is interesting. I've ridden the Zero SRF and was kind of blown away with it. I thought that it handled and rode like a real machine and a real bike. Um, because to me they felt like a toy, or they look like a toy initially. Like their other e-bikes look like little toys, like kids' toys almost. But the SRF was the first real feeling motorcycle, and it was interesting because you you always have that engine sound, you always have the exhaust sound with the bikes, and that took up a lot of your sensory. Um, it took up a lot of your senses. There we go. And without those, now you have to retrain your brain and your ears to really sort of pick up on other things. And the transmission, the belt whine was kind of cool. The road noise you could absolutely experience, and it gives you a different sensation of speed because you don't have the revs to really kind of hone in on your speed. You have the road noise and the whine of the motor itself, the electric motor, and then you had just the breeze. And then when you slow down, you had just the braking feel, and then the lack of wind to kind of tell you that you're slowing down, obviously your speed. But yeah, it's a different experience altogether. And if Ducati can make a bike that is as visceral as their normal combustion engine bikes, they're going to be a lot of fun. And I kind of can't wait to see what they do. I hope it doesn't become as gimmicky as, I think, was it Damon? Let me look. Yeah, so these are some gorgeous looking machines, and I think Ebe 650 Ebe tested one out a while ago, and was blown away. Like the looks of them, the performance, they're impressive looking machines. What's gimmicky I'm talking about is your rear sets can move. I don't need anything like that. What I want is something that feels like a race bike, feels like a sport bike, feels like something you're used to, and then it delivers performance unlike anything else. Like I said, the torque, the SRF coming off the line was just bolt. It didn't spin, which is surprising to me, but I guess the way that it delivers torque is very smooth. Let's see, the Hypersport. Come on. Come on. No, I do not want help today, Damon. Thank you. I'm on a live stream now. See, look, their customer service. Look how quickly that pops up. It's cool looking. A single-sided swing arm. Yes, please. Let's see. I'm kind of surprised it doesn't have electronically adjustable suspension. Given that as an electric bike, wouldn't you want electric suspension? I don't know. Anyways, Damon, really cool bike. Let's see here. It sort of looks like an MV Agusta. I don't know that I go that far, but it's close. What? Why is that turned off? freeze? Am I frozen? Okay. Let's bring you back up. Oh, too big. Too crazy. Alright, there we go. Oh, but anyways. Electric bikes. EV cars. Where did my live stream go? There it is. Okay, we're back. Oh. So they do have those bikes that Ducati's doing are actually for Moto E, which is essentially like your Moto GP, and you know there already are e racing. I won't say leagues, but e racing leagues. That's all they are. That's all they do is there's like a Formula E, so your Formula One racing, but again with electric vehicles, and they are crazy fast, and they are silent is the weirdest thing to watch because there is no noise. You see, here's me, and then that's it. Yeah, FIM Moto E World Cup is what they would be competing in. It's interesting. All right, so let's see if I have any more notes here. I don't think that I do. How they were made, mine, blah, blah, blah. Mustang. Oh, God, the Mustang. Why in the world did Ford call the Mustang, the new EV SUV, a Mustang? It is not that. It is the furthest thing from a Mustang could ever be, and they completely destroyed an iconic name, an iconic brand for them. I don't understand it. They could have called it anything else, but they call it a Mustang. It's not one. I wouldn't mind riding one. Wouldn't mind driving one. Ford's one of those brands that I like this much of what they produce. As a previous Ford tech, that's kind of I've had intimate knowledge of their workings and the mechanics of it. I mean, the Bronco they review is pretty badass. I'll give them that. But Mustangs, unless it's GT 500, 350R, something along those lines, eh. But yeah, electric vehicles are coming. I think they need to really do a lot more research in how they're made and how they get the materials to make the batteries and what sort of technologies they're using. Tesla is a really cool company, but Elon Musk is an innovator, and that's what he does best. And honestly, Tesla Motors I think needs to sell to someone like GM so they can still use their technology but have someone that's better at producing, because there's some quality issues that I've seen with the Teslas, and that just goes to being a small volume dealer. Like they put out numbers that they want to hit and they've come nowhere close to it repeatedly. So they just need to kind of stick with what they do best, which is creating really cool stuff and really innovating on batteries and that technology, because that company with someone like Elon Musk in charge, I think they can create some amazing things that can honestly push this whole zero emissions car vehicle thing to the level it needs to be at, to where it can be mass produced and normal people can get it. If you can't get a car that is fully electric, that is nice, and again, a Leaf isn't that nice, but one of their Model 3s for like 30 grand or 25 grand, it's not bad. Now, if you can start getting into the realm of 15, now you're getting a wider market, and you're going to convince more people that have all those cheaper cars to be able to get those electric vehicles. And that's really the biggest problem, is trying to educate people to why get it. Right now, I don't see a why. Yeah, sure, you can argue global warming and all that stuff. That's it. Whatever. I'm not getting into that. But people need convincing, need to see a huge benefit, and because the majority of the Americans aren't there, you're not going to sell them. People just can't afford them. So this is my little EV spiel. Kind of jumped all over the place with it, but I thought it's interesting how we're moving to that so quickly without really nailing down a lot of the back end stuff, like the infrastructure I mentioned, people selling their cars that are gas powered because I'm sorry, we're not there. I'm not selling my gas powered vehicle. I'm probably not going to drive an electric only. I definitely see the benefit of it. And after driving the Model 3 Performance, I think they're fun and they're a cool car to have in addition to all the other combustion engine cars that I have. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. I'm going to keep watching football. Probably have some drinks. Probably ride before I have drinks. Right? Let's do that. Um, yeah, because the wife's bike has been neglected, and I'm the only one that's put miles on her brand new tires that I got 2 months ago. So I think I'm gonna go ride it. As I missed my ride this morning. Set an alarm. Didn't get up. Go figure. But yeah, next Sunday, 520 Moto Show. Be there. Bring your bikes. Register your bikes. Come say hi, and hopefully we'll have some sort of content from it. I got a badass photographer coming to at least take some pictures. So with that, hope you all have a wonderful Sunday. And yeah, we're out of here. I'm out. Thanks, Crow, for hanging around. It was fun chatting with you. Okay, how do I stop this thing? Stop smiling.